Aloha! Today I would like to discuss selling horticultural products. If you're interested in selling horticultural products to make either part-time change, a little bit extra money, or if you're interested in doing it for a full-time business, the sky's the limit on this. You could become the world's largest wholesaler of horticultural materials. You can become the largest retailer. You can just be some guy local with a greenhouse who sells tomato plants in Minnesota. I mean, really, it doesn't matter. When I say horticultural products, I'm not just talking about nursery stock here, because over the years I've also raised a tremendous amount of vegetable and fruit material for sale. Currently we have the coffee here in the fields. We also have our white pineapples that are dear to our heart here. And so I suggest, if you wish to sell horticultural products of some sort or another, that you consider several items. It can be very important to you. Product mix, and we'll discuss that in detail. Your target market. Who are you selling this stuff to? Who's the character? What do they look like? What do they do? I think you should consider turn time would be a real good idea, because you might want to grow mangosteens and durians or something that takes 20 to 30 years to be able to come in production, but unless you're 14 years old, that's questionable as to whether you'll ever make a dime on that project. And so the faster things go around, it's important. Distribution. So many ways to distribute what you have. There's so many ways. And first off, we take a look at the fact that the earth will provide. And I've had arguments for years with people who always told me, "Oh man, gardening is so expensive. God, I can't afford it." I challenge that, because most of my life I've made my money from gardening. So it really depends on how you look at anything. But first off, let's talk product mix. Now, what that means is that you're going to decide on a certain group of items that you're going to raise. Now, whether it's food or whether it is plants, matter. You're going to have to decide what works. Okay, so first off, you're going to look at what are my possibilities in the environment that I live in. Or you're going to find a suitable environment to do what it is that you decide you want to do. And so if you want to do pineapples, you're not going to settle in Faribault, Minnesota. It ain't going to happen. It's not reasonable anyway. You want to do pineapples, you're here in Hawaii. That's a good choice. There's other places too. You could do that. But, if you want to do apples, this is the worst place I can think of. It's terrible. It is possible. You could move further up the mountain than most of us live. You could plant apple orchards up there, and you could supply apples to the islands. Now, if you did that, offhand, I'd say you make a killing. Apples are so expensive here, and it doesn't take too long for an apple tree to come into bearing. So, the turn time on that particular product mix. Now, so you look at your market, you got to decide, what is it that I can grow in this environment, and what will I sell to the market that I'm looking at? And so your product mix will be dictated by location. It will also be dictated by your target market. It can be dictated by the turn time, how long it takes to do it, and by distribution. All these things add into how you develop a product mix. So just simply, product mix is what I'm working on. That's it. Here, my product mix is very, very large. Okay. Because it's a tropical environment, there are so many interesting tropical plants to work with, whether they be ornamentals or whatever. And again, I know my target market here. And so my target market actually requires a rather diverse group of plants. So moving forward from that, now that we understand what a product mix is, the next thing is the target market. Who is buying this from you? Okay. So most of what I grow here is sold right here. Um, Puna is a very, very, very fast-growing area. Nurseries almost always succeed in rapidly developing areas. So you should be able to describe your target market. If you can't describe who you're selling to, then you really don't know how to sell what or how to distribute and advertise or whatever you're going to do. You got to know who that person is. Now, in the general, when I'm dealing with plants, my target market obviously is, gardeners and farmers, right? I mean, that's pretty simple. But there are specific groups within that. And so Puna, because of its rapid growth, has a really very specific individual that is coming here. Most of them are actually coming from just a handful of western states. I know exactly which ones. For me, it's Washington, Oregon, Colorado, California, Arizona, New Mexico. I mean, that's 90% of the people I see. So I know where they came from already before I even seen their face. In my case, most of them watch YouTube. It's true. And so YouTube has a lot to do with my target market. It attracts them to me. That's how it works. For me, YouTube actually is advertising. And the vast majority of them are really between 30 and 45 years old. I'm a geezer, okay? I'm just this old guy over here at 66. But the people are really coming in here and they're taking a chunk of wild forest, they're cutting it down, dozing it, and creating, places to live. The vast majority of them. A series of western states, Caucasian, generally mostly middle class, and they're, right around 35 years of age. I get a lot of energy, double the energy I got. So the vast majority of my customers are looking for sustainable food production. They're looking for permaculture type food forest settings. These are things that they want to do. That's one reason that my product mix is diverse. Okay, diverse. It's one reason. Is because in a food forest, well, you got all these guilds. You got ground covers, you got stuff a foot high, you got stuff 30 feet high, and so on and so forth. You got vines, you got everything. You also have ornamental plants and flowers, because without the flowers, hey, the pollinators maybe got nothing to do when your orange tree's not blooming and so on. So I also have a lot of ornamental vegetation here too. I specialize in propagating hibiscus. Ellen specializes in orchids. We do anthuriums and things like this. I get stuff around that's just flowers. I got stuff around that's vegetables. I got herbs. I got fruit trees and so on and so forth. So that is my main target market. Now I have one other target market, and this one I have to go out to seek. In other words, the first group tends to find me via either Craigslist, YouTube, my website, or some way. They actually hunt me down. I don't put up any ads or anything like that other than Craigslist, and a sign out on the road. That's it. That's all it really takes to bring those folks to me. And then, of course, here it's the Tokata Telegraph, word of mouth, word of mouth. Everybody talks to one another, and if you do good stuff, if you do aloha, other people are saying, man, he's aloha, go see him. And it's important. Treat the people well. They're taking care of you. Everything previous is retail business at full price, whatever that is. But I also have a wholesale target market. That market generally does not come looking for me because I don't advertise. I go looking for them. So I have to send out feelers. And so I contact people I've known in the business for years in California who might be interested in my products. I contact, I specialize, for instance, in ethnobotanical stuff, entheogens. And so there are a lot of distributors of entheogens in the United States. I do business with them on a wholesale level, providing, smallish plants that they can then resell to people across the entire planet. I really don't want to mess with the entire planet. It's very troublesome for me. Just dealing within the continental United States, Alaska and Hawaii, is enough. And so those people I contact, I take orders from, I attempt to sell products. You have to do a real selling job on that one, okay? Retail people who come here already know what they're looking for roughly, and if you have it, they're probably going to buy it from you. When it comes to doing wholesale, you got to go to that person and you got to convince that person that they need the product that you have and they want to get it from you. That pretty much describes what a target market is. Got any questions? The comment boxes are always there. Go ahead and ask me. And again, all of these things are interconnected. Product mix, target market, turn time, distribution, all of it. Really, they're like this. I'm only pulling them apart into separate categories for illustration. So turn time. Turn time's a retail term generally, but it's also a wholesale term. Turn time means how long does it take you from the time that you develop a product and have it ready for sale to get it sold and then replace it on the table. It's how long that item sits within your presence and is not cash. It tends to be a liability and work and so forth. The faster the turn time on anything, the more money you make, generally the less stress you're involved in. When you pick a product that's got a very, very long turn time, I'm not going to say you can't make any money that way, but you sure aren't going to make any fast. So, as an example, I meet lots of people who are so excited about growing mangosteens or durians here. These are real long-term crops. I highly recommend that if that's what you have in mind, and if you're young enough to enjoy that kind of business, you got to have something in between to be able to create business while you're waiting for a 20-year turn time on the first harvest of durian. So that means you're going to have maybe pineapples, or you're going to have cacao, or you're going to have coffee, or you're going to have something else. Cabbages, bananas, don't matter. Something else that's interplanted in the same fields probably with those durians, so that you're able to make money for years and years and years while you're waiting 2 decades to get the first stinky old piece of fruit off those trees. So, that's basically what turn time's all about. And when your turn time starts to get too long, you're out of business. That's basically the amount in it. It also has to do with your own mentality, your psychology. If I have an item I can sell 200 of a week, I'm very encouraged to continue selling that item. I have an item that it takes me 5 years to sell one, I'm probably going to scrap heap it. Not worth anything. So it's not a business when the turn time is too long. That's real important. And of course, if you got the right product mix and you know your target market well, your turn time is going to be very short because things are going to be just cycling. It's kind of nice when you're doing wholesale business. You can actually get on a chalkboard and figure out exactly how long from a cutting to a mature plant to in the hands of the wholesaler. I can, figure, that's a 6-month job turn time. That's what it's going to take. And we accept that. So, then the final, and that's distribution. If you got the stuff on the farm, somehow you got to get it off the farm, right? There's so many ways to do it. There are more ways to do it today than there ever were. Earlier in my life, most stuff went off the farm in the back of a truck, or on a roadside stand or something. These days, we got the internet. The internet's global. We have wonderful transportation networks across the entire planet, and so there's a lot of different ways you can distribute. So the first thing you have to decide on distribution is my product going local? Is my product going regional? Is my product going global? So in other words, I could sell products just to the people who live here in a couple of subdivisions in Pune, and I make some money off that. It's cool. Depends on, how big you want to be. I could sell stuff to, a couple of districts. I could sell to all of Pune. I could sell to all of Hilo. That's possible. In my case, my distributions are both local and regional. That would mean just the neighbors right around here and anybody I pick up off Craigslist, which pretty much includes this island and a few others, because everybody here reads Craigslist, and when I put up something interesting, I get people from Oahu, I get people from Maui, and that's definitely, I could say that's regional more than local, although it's pretty easy for me to get things over there. shipping is cheap between the islands and so on. There's not a lot of regulation and so on. So I'd say it's a pretty simple thing to say, yeah, sure, if I had it on Craigslist and I meant to sell it here in Puna or in Hilo, well, if somebody in Maui wants it, yeah, we can do that ordinarily. When we start to go beyond that, this is a problem like dragon fruit. My dragon fruit videos are very popular. Dragon fruit itself is a very hot item, but USDA says, no cactus leaves the islands, nor does cactus fruit unless it's irradiated. So because of government regulation, those two have to be local and regional. They cannot include the mainland United States, very regional in other words. I consider the mainland United States to also be regional in my mind. That's just a distinction for me. And so California is part of my business. I even have business as far east as Florida and Ohio and places like that. It really depends. But this is my business model. My business model does not include global. To me, it's a headache. I already lost a lot of hair. I am not losing any more over it, so no global business. Sorry, I'm sorry, folks out there, if you happen to be, in Japan or South Africa or wherever you're at. I just don't do it. I can't do it. Too much trouble. And but other people there, especially people who need to make more money or really want to distribute it to the entire planet. Wow, today out of your backyard using excellent website on the internet, you can sell stuff anywhere you want to. You can ship all over the planet, And so the market's really just as big as you make it. No limitations on that, really. Now, some things don't travel well. And so whatever doesn't travel well probably is best sold locally. Things that do travel well are much better in regional and global distributions. Generally speaking, I like to distribute seed. Seed for me is a very safe commodity. They're generally pretty tough, durable. They can handle a lot. And it's easy. It almost always makes it where it's trying to go in great shape. And so I really like seed for long distance travel. I do a lot of that. I do not have a website up for seed currently. I'm still working on one and thinking about whether I want to do that or not. If I opened up the website for the seed, I would have to anticipate a lot more business than I currently get. Right now, a lot of my seed business just comes from these videos. I should talk about some plant and people go, do you have it? Can I get it? Yeah, I do that. It's a little spontaneous, kind of loose, I guess, but it amounts to a business model because I do have to empty that PayPal account quite frequently from seed shipments. It contributes to what I'm doing here. So that pretty much wraps it up. When you're trying to sell any kind of a horticultural product, first consider your product mix. Compare that to your target market. And from the target market, how long does it take to make it happen? Turn time. And then past that, distribution. Is it local, regional, global, or all of the above? And how does that affect all the other items like target market and turn time? They all work together. And some of us are absolutely, I'm sure, you're not sure if you've never really been in this business much, what your target market is. Use your imagination. You can always change that. If it turns out you were wrong or that market wasn't as hot as you thought it was, well, maybe you want to remix things. But that's the nature of it, and if you do it right, you will make a lot of money, and you're going to be real busy, and you aren't going to need a job anymore because you're going to be growing and selling plants or seeds or fruit or vegetables or something. There you have it. Selling horticultural products. Aloha. Hang loose.